everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Well, I hope you guys are having a good week. I really am. Some of you guys know that I've made some life changes. We're not going to talk about it tonight. You'll see me in these streets soon enough. I'm really excited about my future. But enough about me. Y'all know enough about me. This week, our governor gave his State of the State of address, and he talked about all the investments that are coming down the pike and how we're going to invest in infrastructure and how we're going to invest in pre-K and how our teachers and our public schools were able to get more funding. He made it sound like he did it, didn't he? I guess he forgot to mention where that money came from. All of that money he's investing in our communities and in our infrastructure came from, you guessed it, Democrats, because Democrats deliver. I mean, I guess his arrogance or whatever it is, his predictability or whatever it was, wouldn't allow him to share with all of the Hoosiers that were listening to his State of the State address about where those funds came from. Those are federal dollars that were pushed down to the state. Because, see, the lieutenant governor has been talking about broadband and expanding broadband access in rural communities since 2016. And yet, she has failed. She has failed to do what she said she was going to do. Now that the Democrats are sending some money in, we can have some investment in a lot of that infrastructure that we talked about. But no, in his State of the State address, he would have you believe, he would make you believe that something that happened in that State House was allowing that to happen. If those funds hadn't trickled down, trust no one believe, we would not be engaging in pre-K. Think about it, pre-K. How long have we been talking about pre-K? Oh, we got money now. Let's go ahead and use it. Me personally, I'd like to give credit where credit is due. I don't have to take all the credit for anything good, and I don't have to take all the blame for anything bad. But he sure could have given those Dems a pat on the back. He just couldn't do it. But that's okay. He talked about a lot of things in that State of the State address, and we know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the state of Indiana. But one of the things that I found rather interesting was that he actually came out and said, let's all get vaccinated. I thought that was fantastic. But please know that he pretty much ticked off everybody on his side in that General Assembly. They were none too happy with him by coming out and saying, follow science and get vaccinated. Didn't like it. And then I don't know if you noticed it or not, when he was giving praise to our healthcare workers, the Democrats got up and we applauded because, yes, these people have been sacrificing a lot over the last 2 years trying to keep us healthy and safe, even the people who refuse to take strong science advice to keep themselves out of the hospital. They show up every day and take care of people who don't want to do what's best for themselves. Democrats stood up and cheered. Republicans, they did so reluctantly. I mean, it was like, how do you not get up and cheer people who are taking care of your family members? Because, well, let's be clear. A lot of those folks in the General Assembly have been vaccinated and boosted. It's their constituents that they are willing to say, go ahead and get it. Die. What do we care? I don't know. I don't understand the pathology that allows you to say, no, don't get vaccinated because you might die. Oh, wait, that's my voting base. They're killing their own voting base. One last point from that State of the State. I loved how he said we applaud law enforcement officers. Actually, I have two things. Law enforcement officers, except for that one day in January 2020 when they were beating them down. Now, there were plenty of Republicans from Indiana that were hanging out January 6, 2020 in Washington. Were they caring about law enforcement then? But did you guys catch? This one, it was rich. They always have their obligatory person from a marginalized community, except for LGBTQ folk, that they want to highlight. And they highlighted an amazing business owner who created a business and is doing amazing things in the community. A brother, he's doing great stuff. And the brother told the governor, I couldn't have done it without the programs that this administration has put together. I'm sorry, did they just say government is good for business? Wait, stop the presses. Did they literally, Governor Holcomb just said government can be a good entity for businesses. Especially in Indiana when they want government all out of business, let them do whatever they want, how they want. This is an at-will state. This is a right-to-work state. We want government out of business. But he had highlighted a business owner who talked about the programs that government was offering. Maybe he didn't realize he said that. Maybe it was just an oversight. I don't know. The state of the state it sounded like the other ones. It sounded like the one from 2016 or 2015, 2017, 2018, 2019. Nothing changed. It all sounded the same. And I imagine the results will be the same. Not a whole lot getting done because we're too busy fighting culture wars in our state house. Yes. Oh, yes. We got to talk about the culture wars. WISH TV reports, after more than a week of contentious hearings, state lawmakers on Wednesday sent a bill to limit teaching of social justice issues to the full House. In a near party line vote Wednesday morning, the House Education Committee approved legislation HB 1134 that would place limits on what topics teachers address in class and how they do so. Among other things, students could not be taught that they are responsible for past injustices committed by people who share their race and ethnicity, national origin, or political affiliation, nor could they be taught concepts such as meritocracy were developed as tools of oppression. The bill allows for the teaching of past injustices, including by groups whose goals directly contradict the values expressed in the U.S. Constitution. But this latest version was added Wednesday morning following nationwide controversy over remarks by Senator Scott Baldwin, a Republican from Noblesville, that teachers should be neutral in the teaching of Nazism. Y'all, let's just be real clear about all of this. White fragility is real. Mm-hmm. White fragility is real. We don't want to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable. We don't want to challenge the norms. We don't want to challenge what we had been taught. We just want to be told what we are supposed to think at the expense of little brown children, little black children, little Asian children whose history of success despite oppression will be omitted from this curriculum. I understand you. Listen. I'm going to be kind because I can go off, and I was just about to go off just a minute ago. I had to pull it back in. If you take away the systemic racism that is ingrained in all of our systems of government, then you cannot highlight the success despite those systems. Mm-hmm. And when you take away the visual of Black people other than being enslaved, or if you don't talk about how the Japanese were able to rebuild their communities after having everything snatched from them, or if you can't talk about how the Chinese culture was able to build real sustainable cities, even though there was a Chinese Exclusion Act, then you deny these individuals, you deny those students an opportunity to learn about their greatness for the sake of white greatness. See, I don't have a problem with let's challenge it. Let's challenge it and let's allow these young people to think for themselves and draw their own conclusion. Now, I understand where Scott Baldwin was trying to go with his Nazi rhetoric, but he blew it because we all understand that Nazism in the way that that fascism that was happening in Germany at the time was horrible. It was terrible. So he was lost. He couldn't make a valid point. And when you try to make a valid point about being neutral about Nazism, guess what? You lost your argument.
Right.
You lost your argument. This is nothing more than a ploy to upset we always use in America. Because, it's racist policies, right? We don't want to talk about it, but it's true. We always use racialized fear-mongering to gin up anger in white folk. Mm-hmm. It's a thing. It's always been a thing. It ain't going anywhere. And it's been rather successful because they will get ginned up and they will show up at a school board meeting screaming and hollering and intimidating volunteer school board members to get them to resign so that we can dumb down an entire society because we don't want to teach the nuances of America. There's some great things about who we are, and there's some really crappy things about who we are. But in order to fix those things, we must be critical and we must think critically about those things so that we don't repeat some of the same behaviors that we saw in the past. All right, that's all I'm gonna do. I promised my guest I wasn't gonna go 10 minutes, but you know that kind of ticked me off a little bit. But you know what? I,
Well, yeah. I mean, come on.
it
How
sent
could
me
you
over
not
the
be
edge.
outraged?
Listen, I'm not going to take any more time ranting. That's my rant for the week because tonight I have one of the most dynamic individuals our state has ever produced. I have someone who basically spends all of her waking moment kind of like I do, trying to figure out how we can elect more Democrats. And guess what? She's done it a whole lot longer than I have. Y'all, welcome to my show, candidate for State Senate District 4 and an all around amazing woman leading the crusade to elect more women up and down the ballot. Y'all give it up for my guest, Deb Chubb. Deb, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. Dana, gosh, I miss you now. Um, I miss you all the time now. So it's great to be here with you. It's great to, be in the same room in a certain sort of way. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And your outrage is just, it's so valid, and I cannot imagine not being outraged. Who could not be outraged? The bill you talked about, 1134, that includes college. They
Yes.
This is like in, so in college you can't talk about say anything about racism being bad amongst college people. I don't even know where this ends.
And what
It,
kills me is that they always want to say, well, teaching of these theories is indoctrination. But omitting a lot of these discussions is also indoctrination, but they don't want to own that part.
right. Well, that's how it's been, and so that's what they're used to. So, and then they want to kind of package it up and call it, American exceptionalism, but that is just another big fat lie. It really is. Exceptionalism because we believe in white supremacy. I mean, I wish that teacher had followed that question up. I'm sure he was just shell shocked when Senator Baldwin responded by saying, "Well, yeah, we should be neutral on Nazism." I wish the teacher would have said, "So white supremacy, that are
Oh.
we should be neutral on that too."
Well, they don't believe that's
Uh,
a thing. See, because they hear white supremacy and they think, well, wait a second, I didn't have any privilege. Me personally, my family was a working class family. They can't expound on the thought. They have to be so narrowly focused on their belief system.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
so
and they're all just so wrapped up in all these lies and false narratives. I that it really is going to fall apart. It has to fall apart. You can't even believe that anybody has to consider this a legitimate bill.
well,
And of course, remember too that it doesn't apply to private religious schools.
yeah,
So
and
they
that's
can
what's
say whatever
crazy.
they want.
But they're getting tax dollars. I don't get that part, right?
Absolutely they are.
I don't get that part. And especially when you see where communities are like, yo, our public schools need more money. They put referendums on the ballot to raise money. And these clowns want to say, oh, you got to share that money. You got to share that money with these private people. I know you were
Right.
raising this money and raising taxes to take care of public schools, but you got to share it.
Right.
It's astonishing to me. It's just flat out astonishing to me. And what
It
did you
is.
think of the State of the State address? Did you get a chance to check
I
that
didn't
out?
watch it.
You didn't watch him?
I don't watch it.
You were
I heard a
smart.
little bit of it. I know Governor Holt. I mean, it is kind of the same old thing. I know he's proposing tax cuts with the big, surplus and funding that we have now due to the Democratic finances coming from the federal government. And of course, my first thought is, okay, great. Now we're going to get rid of the tampon tax, right? No,
No, no.
no, no. We're going to get rid of sales tax on guns and ammo, and on and other business property tax.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
they're
keep in
moving
mind,
forward.
property taxes are what fund schools.
They're moving forward
So
with that tax cut too. They announced it today that they're going to move forward with it from a 3.2% down to the income tax 3.2 down to 3%.
oh yeah,
So, well,
yeah,
well, at first Governor Holcomb was like, I'm not really worried about the individual tax return. I only want to take care of businesses and their inventory. What?
right, right,
What?
yeah.
It was kind
It's
of crazy. What do you think about the no carry, the constitutional carry as they call it, the
oh my
no
gosh.
permit?
Well, this is another example of a bill that can be put forward by a Republican supermajority member. And regardless of whether his or her constituency even agrees, they can pass this bill and they can still get reelected. And this is, because of course the gerrymandering that Indiana is subject to, and it really leads down the path of autocracy. This
Yeah,
is how we go. And of course, the bills about education, about limiting speech, limiting what the state. The Republicans are now the new state thought police about what you can think about and
yeah.
what you can talk about. Remember last year when they were all about freedom of speech? I don't know what happened. Now, no freedom of speech. So it really is. It's frightening because it really is, bringing up the question of whether we still live in a democratic republic.
Absolutely, and it's no different than the anti-vax bill that they have out there too, where there's a bill out there that says businesses cannot retaliate or do anything to employees who are not vaccinated. But I thought this was an at-will state, and they can
Right.
fire you at will except for when you want to politicize a pandemic.
Right. And in fact, that bill says that if you fire them because you decide, because they haven't gotten a vaccination and you would like to keep your staff safe, um, and you require a vaccination and they say no, they can quit and they can get unemployment benefits. And that comes out of the employer's, unemployment tax payment. So
Absolutely.
so now the employer is faced with the decision of, do I keep my staff safe and me safe, um, or do I want to pay more in the unemployment tax rate?
It's crazy. The
It is just
hypocrisy is
shocking.
real, and they can't even like justify because you can't talk out of both sides of your neck, and that's exactly what they're doing. And those of us that are aware, we see it, and we're like, how do we get this message out to our people? Because we're the ones that are going to be the negatively impacted by these thought processes from these folks on the other side of the aisle.
It's crazy. Okay, so and to some extent, I think we have to look at this. It's just a distraction
Yeah,
because the real goal here is to get more Democrats elected. Because nothing will change until we get more Democratic people elected. And
absolutely,
so we have to make sure that every race has a Democrat on the ballot. That is like the number one most important thing we can do. And of course, we have to make sure that we have precinct committee chairs in every precinct and that they are trained and know how to help get Democratic candidates elected. So
absolutely.
I know it's awful because you want to just ignore this nonsense because it's so bizarre. But the fact is they have the power to make it happen, and so you have to respond. You have to talk about it. But we cannot let this distract us from the main goal.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? You're talking about it. So I see that you're on the ballot. I was happy to see that you put your name on the ballot. So you're not only just a leader in the community, you are now campaigning. So I'm going to treat you kind of like I treat all the other candidates. Tell the
Okay.
people who you are and where you come from.
Okay. So let's see. I'm old, first of all, so I try to shorten the story because it's long, and it's
You're
unabridged.
seasoned like a good black iron skillet. When you get it out, it's seasoned perfectly and everything you cook in it tastes good. That's you.
You're so nice. So anyway, so I come from, gosh, where do I come from? I come from a very militant feminist family, which I'm very proud of. My mom was a militant socialist and a feminist, and 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 I really I've done nothing in my life that hasn't really been to help benefit women.
Yeah.
And that it's odd. I mean, honestly, I didn't even see it happening until I look back many years later. So when my mom, got divorced in the late '60s, she couldn't get the utilities turned on in her name.
Mm.
She couldn't get a credit card in her name. So we lived through that, me and her, and struggled through that, and we're really kind of yanked around by the family court system, which was, it's not like that now, thank goodness, but it was really pretty awful. But as when I grew up, I realized that that was something that, I would always be working on. So, I went to law school, and in my second week of law school, started a pro-choice group because I went to Valparaiso University School of Law, and it was the first time I'd been at a private, like, religious school. And so this was really quite shocking to me, that there was an anti-choice group in the law school. I mean so that was pretty shocking. So I did that, and I started some women's groups in law school, and then I came out and I opened up my own practice because then was a single mom, and really, no firm was going to hire me with two little kids, and I certainly couldn't commute to Chicago with two little kids at home, and so I opened up my own practice, and my very first Yellow Pages ad. Back when people had Yellow Pages ad, was
For
the
those
picture
of
of
you
this.
who don't know what a Yellow Pages is, it's a big yellow telephone book with all the businesses in it.
Right. And at that time, attorneys all you had to have an ad in the Yellow Pages as a practicing attorney. And mine had a picture of the Statue of Liberty, holding up the torch, and it said across the front, "Fighting for women's and children's rights." Um, and I don't know why I put that. I mean, I guess that's just how I always was. So I did that, and it was great. And I worked with a lot of women going through divorces and family law
Mhm.
issues, and helped women one at a time, really banging our heads against brick walls,
Mhm.
trying to make some change. There were so many parts of the law that just kind of like the little nuance that really kind of cripples women
Mhm.
in the system. But I won't go into that. So I did that for several years, and then I took a position at a nonprofit called the Child Care Consortium.
Mm.
And again, the idea was that I understood that childcare was the biggest barrier between women and economic
Yeah.
sustainability. And so I took this position, and I was really blessed, a great board, very supportive and very ambitious, and really wanted to do things. So it was great. I spent 17 years there writing grants for innovative programs to help single moms and little kids and families, and help other childcare providers improve their programs, getting them stuff and equipment and training. We did a lot of that,
Mhm.
and advocating at the state level, the federal level, for improved regulation of childcare, so that children were in safer, more nurturing, more educational environments for childcare. So I did a lot of that, and then I finally, several years ago, got the grant for Head Start. So I started a Head
Oh.
Start program in our county.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's Head Start's. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It is
Yeah.
just a beautiful thing. The mission of Head Start is not just to provide pre-K for 3 to 5 year olds. It's to make families self-sufficient.
Yes.
So, and that's the beautiful thing. So it really provided this opportunity to do all kinds of other services. We worked on housing, we worked on transportation, we worked on employment, on education, on healthcare, and it was really great. I mean, it was really great. So I do know a lot about childcare, and of course, I am thrilled that suddenly the Indiana Chamber of Commerce has said childcare is important. We need some childcare legislators so that we can get people to work.
That's
It was
it. That's
like,
the only reason why they want child care is because they're like, okay, we want them to keep making babies, but they can't come to work if there's no child care. How do I get more people back in the work? Because that's all they care about is maximizing profit. They don't really care about the child care. All they care about
oh,
is the
right, right.
mama and the daddy getting their behinds, or the mama and the mama, whatever, getting
Yeah.
their behinds back in the workforce. That's all they care about.
People want to work. Moms want to work. I remember at Head Start, talking with a woman. I was the first one in our area to do full day,
Mm.
um, uh, pre-K, for 3 to 5 year olds. And I remember a mom looking at me. She's like, "This is all day," and I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "You mean I could get a job?" And I was like, "Yeah, you could get a job." And she was just, was so excited. I mean, it was, moms want to work. They
Yeah.
want to make money. They want to earn a living. They want to support their families, but they're just crippled
Yeah. Yeah.
by, the lack of accessible, quality, affordable childcare, and, of course, a number of other issues that
Yeah.
women face.
They
So
have
I felt
ambitions
like,
other than
those
just
17 years were spent, again, really helping women. And, and I was really glad because when I was practicing law, I helped a lot of women, but then when here, I really felt, wow, I could have a much bigger impact. And I did. We helped thousands of women get higher education, take care of their kids, help them with their kids with all kinds of other needs. So it was awesome. It
I
was
love
really
it.
great.
Well, and that's
But then
cool.
I will say in 2017, like many of us, we had that day we woke up in a fetal position and really didn't know if we were going to be able to get out of bed.
Orange
And
Menace.
that's when I realized that, again, what I was doing was not enough. That was just not enough. It was more systemic than whatever fancy pants program I could put together and get funding for was going to address. And
Okay.
so, really, even though I had been very active in politics for many, many years, I realized this really had to be a bigger priority. So I quit my job, and yeah, yeah, that's what a lot of people said. I'm like,
Time for change. It's time for a change.
yeah, it was just time for a change. So I then started. I started with a local group of women here in my county, and an organization called You Should Run Woman. Uh, so I was
No,
just it
we're
was
not
kind
being
of a play on
forceful at
all
all.
those. There was all those organizations where it's like run, she should run, vote, lead, all
Emerge.
those ones. So I was just like, run, you should run, woman. So that's what we call it. So it was a local group here, and we got a lot of women to run for precinct committee chair. We supported a lot of women Democratic candidates running for offices or up and down the ballot, and that was great. And then after that, we thought, well, again, we could do a little better. And so that's when I created 25 Women for 2020. And
Hmm.
it was really a focused effort to just look at races for the Indiana State Legislature. And because I knew, like, people are really starting to realize how important the state government is to our everyday lives.
That's where the
It
power
is just,
is. That's where
yeah,
all the power is. People don't want to.
right.
We get so caught up in what's happening at the Fed level because they're on national TV. Oh my God, oh my God. But anything that comes down from the Feds can be put to a halt in the state house, and anything you think you're doing at the municipal level can be altered at the state house.
Right.
That's where the
Yeah.
power is.
Right. So yeah, so that's why I focused on that, and I went about trying to recruit Democratic women to run, because in Indiana we still have less than 25% representation by women in the legislature,
Mhm.
which is ridiculous. And on its face, it's wrong and it shouldn't be happening. But we really have to acknowledge the impact of that. That we cannot get a law passed to define consent, such that women who are raped and who do not have, evidence of physical violence, um, or incapacity, can't prosecute rapists.
Mm, mm.
There's still a huge pay gap.
Wasn't
So,
there wasn't there a bill a while back where they were trying to pass a bill where they were going to give the rapist parental rights?
oh God, jeez. I'm sure I blocked that out of my
It was
consciousness.
too traumatic.
Yeah, that would just be too traumatic. Yeah. So if that happened, but yeah, so I mean, and this is the impact that so many women in Indiana are raped without any justice, and of course our horrible maternal mortality rate, third worst in the country, and of course if you're a woman of color, triple it. uh, Unbelievable. And the infant mortality rate is horrible. So
Yeah.
these are issues that are a result of not having representation in the state house. So,
Absolutely.
nobody's talking about equal pay for equal work. Nobody's talking about fixing our rape laws. Nobody's talking about, women having any say in their, reproductive life. So, you know, this is the impact. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not only just bad on its face, it is really bad in our lives and
Absolutely.
in everybody's lives.
Absolutely. Now,
So
the one solace we can take is that in the House caucus, women are the majority, in our Democratic House
yeah,
caucus.
yeah,
And think about that. We're the majority in our Democratic House caucus, but we're still only 25% of the.
you're
I
right,
mean,
right.
thank God for Democrats, so women wouldn't be there.
That's right.
You'd be
So
stuck with a Peggy Mayfield.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry
So
again. I can see the
so
trauma.
anyway, so yeah, so that's what I was really excited to do more. So we did this 25 women for 2020. I went around the state really talking to women, talking about running, saying, I will help you. And again, with this, the impact of not having any representation is that it makes it even harder for women to run
Yeah.
in Indiana.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I learned so much from that experience. I remember calling, I started off with women who had run and not won. And
Mm-hmm.
I called them and I said, hey, you ran and you did a pretty good job. And, you got, a lot of votes. And you've got some currency now. You have name recognition. You've got some volunteers. You've probably got, yard signs in your garage.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think you should run again and I want to help you. Um, and I will tell you, a few of those women started crying. Nobody had ever said anything to those women like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had said, you did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It was really shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so, I was inspired to carry on. And so we did. And we ended up working with 29 outstanding Democratic women candidates. So it was great. And I will tell you, just this notion of women having a badass group of women behind them gave candidates a lot of confidence. And that's what, women needed. I mean, it is sad. And I think, this and I know it, I hate it, but it's true. Women don't always support women. Um,
Yes.
and that's unfortunate.
Well, we're pitted against each other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because there's only supposed to be so many slots for us, and so we all have to supposed to like they did when they threw those dollar bills out to those teachers on the ice rink.
Oh,
We're supposed to all fight for just a small
yeah, the
piece of the
crumbs.
pie. No, I'm gonna fight you, dog.
Yeah.
Just cause you taller than me and got a deeper voice than me, I'm coming for your seat. Why I
Yeah.
gotta fight her? I'm gonna fight you. So we have to change that narrative. We can't get caught up in it because they will pit us against each other, especially strong women. And you know what I'm talking about. They want us to pretend like we can't get down with each other and support each other because we both we all alpha females. Yes, we are alpha females,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they don't
Yes.
want us to be down with each other. So they'll whisper here and whisper there, and man,
Yep.
get on out of here with that.
Yeah. So that's, it's unfortunate, but men tend to they just support the guy. They don't really, but women are not, they're, you know, it's not the same kind of
It's not the
team,
same, and
apparently.
we're actually, in my opinion, don't get me wrong. There are some really amazing men out there, and this is not a man hating show because
Absolutely.
I can
Absolutely.
call them out, and I'm not. We ain't got time for that. But
Yeah.
because we are so underrepresented as women, if we are not bullish in our desire to get more women in elected office, and not just the state house, up and down the ballot, we will
Mhm.
continue to be marginalized with the policies that they are writing. The
Right.
conversation changes when we're in the room about the policy. I mean, think about it. Remember back in 2017, 2018, when in DC, all those dudes were sitting around talking about health care and wasn't a woman in the room. And
Right.
a lot of them can't navigate themselves around a woman's anatomy, even if you gave them a map. But they gonna tell us what we should be doing with our bodies. If
Right.
we're not in the room having that conversation, and I'm not talking about those, Handmaid's Tale women either. Because some of them, I gotta have my man and he gonna make the decision. Cause there's some women out there like that too.
Yeah.
Fine, if that's what you want, let your man. Cause there was one legislature that was the judge was talking about we ought to like go home and let our dudes vote for us. Remember that?
Who are you
I
talking about? You're not talking about the new Supreme Court justice,
yes, there was and
Amy
I'm like, well, first of all, ain't no
Coney.
dude in my house ever. So you know what I'm saying? But like there are those women out there. We want to be sure that we're clear. We're talking about women who understand the significance of empowering other women and making sure that we're writing policies that are empowering women. And that's why we have Deb Chubb on Turn Left today. If you like what she's talking about, be sure to click the donate link. It's right there. It's right there. Click that donate link because she is trying to run to represent you to get in that state house. Keep going, Deb.
Well, yeah. Last year, another example is the pregnancy accommodation laws that were proposed. Women for Change does a great job of advocating for women's issues. They put
Rima,
together an outstanding agenda. They did a great job. They had nothing. They got, I mean, well, okay, so the law was passed that said that if you're pregnant in the workplace, you can ask your company, your employer, to make an accommodation, but they don't have to do it. In fact, they don't even have to respond. It's like, wasn't it? Don't we have that now?
I mean, I don't
So
understand why businesses. Why? Okay, why would you even go there? So, how you treat your employee is how your profit margin is going to be. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? If you keep, I mean, so do you want us in the workforce or do you want us to stay home barefoot and pregnant? I'm gonna need y'all to make up my mind.
yeah. Well, and honestly, I mean, they do not see the huge impact of, across the board when women cannot feel like they can withstand whatever physical job they have to do while they are pregnant and they have to quit. That means they don't get unemployment. That means they lose their maternity unpaid maternity leave if they have
Insurance.
it, because they've quit. And now they're just, sentenced to poverty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that is
Absolutely.
such a huge impact. And the Republicans and the men up there just did not even like get it. It's
It's almost like
shocking,
they don't have any daughters, sisters, mothers, aunties, nothing. Y'all just don't. Y'all just don't
right?
care.
Right. And the bill didn't ask for, I want to sit on a pillowed throne. I just want to have an extra bathroom break, or sit down if that's possible.
Not if you're working at Amazon.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
So,
you and I could probably talk about the importance and the impact of having women in positions of leadership and decision making. But there are a lot of issues that are happening in the state of Indiana. I know that the governor said this week that he wants to be he looks at things optimistically. I don't understand how he looks at the fact that the report came out last week, about maybe last a couple weeks ago, where Indiana was deemed the most unsafe state when it came to COVID. We were the least
oh, right.
safest
Right.
state, and we
Right.
talk about healthcare. He talked about all these things, but nothing is being put in action. If when you are elected, because you will, well, I have to stay neutral because you got a primary opponent. My bad. But if you were elected, talk about how you would work with your colleagues, and even if you have to across the aisle, addressing real healthcare issues.
Oh, there is so much to do. I mean, healthcare. I mean, that's kind of an unfair question. I mean, because that is so broad. We did it. Temporary Medicaid expansion through COVID. That should stay. People, should be kept on Medicaid. One of the biggest issues is, in infant mortality is a lack of prenatal health care services available. 30% of our counties have no OB or prenatal care available at any price. That's ridiculous. And I will say one of the things that should have been looked at is the report that Indiana did on maternal mortality. And in that report, which came out in 2021, it said that 80% of the pregnancy associated deaths were preventable.
Mm, mm, mm.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, and of course, we haven't even talked about the impact of gun violence on women.
Oh,
Um, that is just such an incredible disaster. I work with people at the women's shelters, and gun deaths of women from a domestic partner doubled during the pandemic. And did women's shelters get any extra money to help? Of course not. No one even wanted to talk about it. No
No,
one even wanted to talk about it.
of
So
course not.
again, we need real representation for these issues.
Well,
I would love to see healthcare insurance separated from employment. That is such a, I can't believe that employers are not begging for that.
I
Their
would actually
prices
like
are
to
going
see.
up.
I would actually like to see insurance go bye bye.
Yeah,
And here's why. I mean, I said it before. We want affordable health care, not affordable insurance. And the thing is there's a way. I know that when I have an outstanding bill with my hospital of choice, they work with me and we put arrangements together. And it's no different than now. If we get rid of the insurance, I bet the cost of this hospital care and health care will kind of go down because there's an upcharge for the premiums that
yeah,
everybody has to pay. You know what I'm saying?
right, right. Well,
I,
and they have to make a profit. I mean,
oh,
they are a for-profit company. So that's why I just shake my head when people say, "Oh, we don't want the government, deciding what my healthcare is." It's like, well, okay, but you're okay with somebody, an insurance company who's mostly interested and, in fact, has a fiduciary obligation to seek the highest profit, making those decisions for you.
absolutely.
So,
We've managed to make. That's why we need to teach more civics in school. And I like there's a bill that's out there that's requiring a civics class before you can graduate high school. I think this is fantastic. But here's what happens: we've told people that government is bad and business is good, and that we should run everything like we should run government like a business. Well, there are certain things that are not profitable.
right,
There are just certain things
right.
that you have to do in a society that is just not profitable. How profitable is it to pick up garbage and dispose of it in a sanitary way? It's not necessarily all that profitable. How profitable is it to make sure that there's adequate education for every child? That's an investment. That's an
Mhm.
investment.
Right.
But if you running it like a business, that means you taking your profits off the top and the people get what's left. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? I
That's right.
hate that idea. But then
Yeah.
at the State of the State, homeboy was like, yo, those government programs got your business off the ground. See, I caught that. I peeped that. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. Well, and to think that, we don't even, at least in this state, acknowledge that everybody is entitled to some, minimal level of health care.
Absolutely.
It's,
Absolutely.
it's if you can find the money. And I mean, what kind of society is that says, if you can't find enough money, you're not entitled to basic health care? That,
Exactly. And I know
so,
when we talk to a lot of the union folks, which, I know you are all down with labor and being
mhm.
able to collective bargain. We talk to the union people that one of the arguments that people always say was, well, these unions, they already contracted and argued and arbitrated for these healthcare benefits. But I've heard from union people say, guess what? We would like to not have to argue about that. How about if you just take that
Right.
off the table, give me universal health care, and I can negotiate something else?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need to talk about collective bargaining rights.
Let's do it.
In
That was my
Indiana, it's
segue.
yeah, good job. So, yeah, in Indiana, teachers are only allowed to negotiate for wages and benefits. Nothing as to the length of their day, all their professional development that they have to do on and off the clock, uh, planning time, maximum size of classrooms. Uh, it's really it really it makes teachers look like they're just money hungry, when they negotiate, because that's all they can negotiate. They can't negotiate anything else. They all want to talk about the quality of the classroom, the quality of the curriculum, the safety of the environment for kids, the number of children that is that that determines a high quality learning environment. They want to talk about all that, but they are not allowed to.
Uh,
And then, of course, the right to work nonsense.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and
so
these teachers, you bring up a really great point in that they can only negotiate wages and benefits, but there's no reason, in my opinion, that a teacher should have to go out and purchase supplies to do their job. Though that there should be a bucket of money that says if you need something for your classroom to do your job, right? Then you can
Yeah,
go into that bucket and get that money to do that thing for your classroom. I've never seen a person who worked on an assembly line have to buy the parts to put the assembly together.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, teachers, I don't know who will stay in the profession if these bills pass that, are going to make them post all of their lesson plans hour by hour and, and subject them to liability, fines and possibly crimes if they utter, something that a child interprets as an opinion about anything
And
about,
And we're talking
yeah,
about children's minds who haven't been fully developed yet. Yes,
right.
there's going to be some unease about certain things, but that's why you talk it out. But the part that gets me is that we have, I'm not, I'm going to be kind when I say this. Not every parent should have a say in the education because there was one lady that was testifying the other day and she didn't even understand that she couldn't violate the First Amendment rights of teachers, that the government couldn't come down on a teacher for making a post on Facebook because that's a violation of First Amendment rights. So why is this person who doesn't even understand how the Constitution works getting to determine how curriculum is being dispensed in our schools?
Right.
Help
Yeah.
me with
Well,
that one.
and just the broad interpretation of every single utterance, could be just ridiculous. We'd be chasing teachers around every day, day and night. I
And
mean,
now
I
they got to
love that.
administer COVID tests.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love it. I love to have parents involved. I would love to have parents more involved in the curriculum. I'm on the school board now, and we put out the books for the, if we're changing curriculum, we make them available. Anybody can come by and look. I think I'm the only person that takes a look at them and asks questions about it, because I have done that. I have asked questions about historical things because there's often a lot of omissions. But that is great when parents do that. We love it. And I love it when parents come to school board meetings and tell me what's going on. Because as a school board member, I might not otherwise know unless a parent, comes and makes an issue of it. And that's okay. That's great. That's important. Um,
I
but
think it's important, but I also the thing that worries me, which is what is happening, is that a very loud minority is
mhm,
trying to dictate what everyone else should learn, right? So you
mhm,
go into these school districts and they're talking about this parent over here saying, "Oh no, I don't want little Johnny to learn this thing." But that thing may be beneficial to my kid over here. So you're saying,
well, and what do you do with Johnny if his parent has said no, I'm opting out? Where does Johnny
where does Johnny
go
go?
when the other kids are, in the classroom?
And see, but that's what see, public education is different than private schools, and I just get so frustrated because don't get me wrong, I do agree that there should be some parental involvement, but I don't think that I don't think that parents should dictate exactly how teachers should do what they've been trained to do, right? I
Mm,
mean, I'm not an engineer. I am not going to go tell an engineer how to build the building or build the bridge. I don't know. But I know how I want it to look. Maybe I want it to look this way, maybe it'll look that way. But I'm gonna need you to use your expertise to make that building be what it is. And then I want my child to be a productive member of society. That's what I want. And you have the expertise to make that happen. So go do that. You know what I'm saying?
right. Yeah. I mean, we're not even preparing kids for the workforce. Well, so you know, do you want your child to be so uneducated that they graduate from high school and they can't get a decent job?
They're
And
not thinking long term.
no,
They're not,
yeah.
and it's
And
so
of course
narrowly
now, and
focused.
we've seen what that does to our economy. We have people begging for employees, but people are not trained. People
They're
are
not
not
qualified.
qualified.
They're not qualified. I mean, we want to, and then we have people moving who are qualified, who get amazing education from our amazing universities. I mean, come on. Indiana has some of the top notch universities.
Absolutely.
They don't stay here, they
Yeah.
leave because the quality of life is
Yeah.
suspect.
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't want to raise their kids here. I mean, I'd say, and as to teachers, this is really, I think, a result of a years long barrage of disrespect to teachers that has, you can see it, that parents think they know more about education than trained teachers. It's really just part of this disrespect that has been laid on teachers. And of course, their unions have been just vilified.
Right.
Um, and that's really taken hold. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where parents, think, yeah, I know better. I know better than teachers about, education and curriculum. And that's just a really slippery slope.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that's a big topic, especially with our millennials and our Gen Zs, they are talking about the environment because they would like to be able to breathe when they get our age.
Yeah.
And we see that Governor Holcomb again talked about clean energy. I think I don't think he's running.
Well, he's not. He can't.
Oh, that's right. He's already got his 2 terms in. Woo.
Yeah.
But I think he's like saying what he really feels now. Like, oh, yo, we need renewable energy. And I know he is taking. But talk about, I mean, especially up in northern Indiana, where it's steel country and it's been an industrialized place. But talk about the impact of the environment and some of the things that we need to do differently here in Indiana.
Great. Yeah. So I've done a lot of environmental work. I sat on the board of directors for Save the Dunes for 10 years. I was the president for several years. And I started a chapter of the CCL group here, which is Citizen Climate Lobby, another interesting, very specific organization that's working on climate change
Hmm.
solutions. So I've done a lot. And of course, I've worked with HEC, the Hoosier Environmental Council, over the years, uh, doing different projects. So up here in this district, we have this natural wonder called the Great Lake Michigan. I like to call it the greatest of the Great Lakes, just because I love it. But uh, this is the source of our drinking water. And we have to oversee industry that is on this shoreline.
Hmm.
Save the Dunes is a great organization. It was the organization that literally drew a line in the sand that stopped industrial development of the entire Indiana shoreline. So we don't have much. So we have quite a bit of industry, very old industry, dependent on fossil fuels, which is a problem. And we need to find ways to get off of that and move out of that sphere. And we will. I mean,
Hmm.
the people who have worked at those steel mills, have given their lives
Yeah.
and to that, and really deserve to be honored for their years and years of commitment to that work. And they've done a good job. And some of the mills have done more than others to reduce emissions from those coal burning
Hmm.
plants,
Hmm. Hmm.
put in lots of scrubbers, other safety mechanisms, but we still have to be very vigilant in overseeing what's happening there. There's been several spills in the last couple of years, and because of the Republican supermajority and the Republican administration, IDEM is kind of hands off.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's up to people here to make sure that we're on top of it. I will say Mayor Lynch in Portage did an excellent job of standing up to this was ArcelorMittal, now Cleveland Cliffs steel mill, because of their spills of hexavalent chromium 6, terribly carcinogenic, terrible, terrible, and really was just saying, at least you need to notify us.
Right.
And so that was really what her big complaint was they weren't even notifying people. People were just noticing, or fish were dying. Yeah. So there's lots of things that we need to do to make sure that we protect our source of drinking water and in the Lake Michigan. But there's also, and the other thing that is impacting that, of course, is our coal ash lagoons. Indiana has more coal ash lagoons than any other state in the country.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they are all situated next to waterways.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, and that's a problem. And ours up here is it's separated from Lake Michigan by an old rusting steel seawall that is splitting at the seams. And of course, it's sitting in a hole that is not lined. So all of there's arsenic and lead in there, among many other heavy metals that are very dangerous, that are leaching into the groundwater. That of course migrates into Lake Michigan. So the cleanup of coal ash is going to be a major issue in Indiana.
Mm.
So I was very happy to see that the Region 5 of the EPA, that's in our district, they sit in Chicago, is pouring a couple of $1 billion into Superfund cleanups in Indiana, which is awesome. So that's going to, and one of the biggest problems that they're going to address is the underground plume contamination near Franklin, down in Johnson County, uh, which is it's chemicals from dry cleaners that for whatever reason was put into the ground and now and creates this plume of contamination that seeps into the underground aquifers from which people draw their drinking water. So that is a wonderful thing, and that's the federal government doing their job. And I'm really proud because I know the woman who is in charge of that now at Region 5, Deborah Shore. She's just an outstanding woman and has done a great job in environmental work. And now she's there at Region 5, so I'm very proud of that. And she's doing great work already.
See,
So
I ain't
she's
gonna lie.
bringing.
A lot of that you said went, and
Oh,
and
sorry.
and I'm glad because I
Oh,
need people who are smarter than me in other areas to legislate. Right? We need. I'm sick of intellectually challenged people getting elected to office. And I love how committed you are to this conversation of environmental protection. Because a lot of people think in Indiana that it doesn't, oh no, we can't do anything about the environment. And you just highlighted so many different areas. I think that is so phenomenal. I'm just like blown away right now. I just want you to know that.
oh, well, good. Yeah, there's a lot more to do. There really is. As you know, last year a law got passed despite huge opposition from over, I don't know, I think it was over 200 environmental organizations. Voiced their opposition to. I think it was a Senate bill. Oh, I can't remember it anymore. Now I got new numbers in my head this year, but it stripped the protection of most of the remaining wetlands in Indiana. And
Yes.
again, that's something that people really need to understand more. The importance of wetlands cannot be overstated. They act as filters for precipitation, and now facing, because of climate change, more and more intense weather events. All of that rain coming down much quicker is going to run off. That's what we call runoff. Runs off of roads, sidewalks, driveways, lawns. Lawns are not designed well to absorb water. Tiny little grass with tiny little roots do not do much.
Right.
So, unfortunately, when you build a house, even if you put a lawn in, it's not going to do a whole lot to help manage rainwater.
I love it.
Everybody needs rain gardens. We need rain gardens with tall plants with long roots that soak up a lot of water.
Mm.
So, this is what wetlands do. They soak up all of that water. And so not only are they filtering the water that will ultimately be our drinking water, they are reducing the flooding that we will
Mm-hmm.
be experiencing more and more. Every time now, there's a new city in Indiana that is being completely flooded and driving, people driving around in boats down the street. And it's because we have all kinds of, lots of problems. It's
Yeah.
not just one thing, but a big part of it is a reduction in wetlands
Mm.
that can really answer that problem.
Mm.
So we do need to protect our wetlands much better. And I know my own state rep, Pat Boy, is introducing a bill that incentivizes homeowners and property owners to keep that wetland, if they have wetland on their property, to keep it safe and to not develop it.
Well,
Um,
I'm gonna try to get Pat Boyd, Representative Pat Boyd, on the show this year. I keep missing her; she's such a busy lady. But guess
yeah.
what, Deb?
What?
That's our
Oh,
hour.
there's so
Right?
many other
Time time
things.
flies when you're having fun. So, a
It does.
couple things before we gotta do this housekeeping. Tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, right. So, yeah, my website is www.debforindiana.com.
Okay.
And Facebook page is Deb Chubb for Indiana, something like that. So, but yeah, please go to my website and look. I really tried to put everything on there, lots of information about me and about the issues that I think are most important and that I'm really committed to working on as a state senator.
I love it. And are you having any upcoming events?
Well, no,
Okay.
because COVID.
Yeah, this is true. This is
So,
true.
so yeah, tomorrow we're having a lot. We'll live stream a Zoom meeting tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Central, and
Okay.
people can get there through my Facebook page. Um, but yeah, everything we keep trying to do, it's like no, no,
Well,
not
you
yet.
guys, if you like what she's talking about, because I know I do, if you like what she's talking about and you like her fire and you like her commitment to women, donate her, click on her link and donate because unfortunately, campaigns are not free. We would like for them to be free, but they're not. So if you like what she's talking about and you want to support Deb Chubb, go ahead and click on the link. And before I go, I want y'all to know we had planned to do this conversation. We were doing it as a collaborative because she has her own podcast called Electable. And what we were gonna do was like, I come on your show, you come on my show, and we do this thing. It's because there's enough, food for everybody to eat in this state, and there's enough to uplift each other. So let's just show, that we can be a couple of amazingly powerful women doing amazingly powerful things. But then she turned into a candidate. And so, me on Turn Left, I'm going to make sure that I highlight all the candidates that want to run for office. Deb, I got to tell you, real talk, I admire the work that you do. I don't think people really appreciate how much energy and effort you put into making sure that we are well represented, but not just that we understand how to represent. Right? We can tell people how to run, but you're actually showing people how to run, and you're showing people how it's important for them to be leaders in our community. Keep that up. Do not, not that I got to tell you that, because, I know how powerful and strong you are, and I just want to let you know how much I admire the work that you're doing, and I am always here. Now, you know me, I stay neutral in the primary, but all the other activities you have going on, whatever you need from Indiana Zone, all you got to do is reach out to me, and I'm there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly want to make sure people know about our precinct committee chair training that we're doing at the, 25 Women for 2020 morphed into Indiana Women's Action Movement. We're doing the same thing this year, helping women, but we're also doing some really great training. So, because we know we have to get all 5,176 precincts represented with precinct chairs who are trained and know how to get Democratic candidates elected.
I love it. And the deadline for filing is February 4th. So make sure you get that done. Listen, that's the end of the show. I've run over a little bit, but this was a great conversation with a great guest. I look forward to joining you on your podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Indiana's own Dana Black. I Deb Chubb tonight. Turn left. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace.